Hi, this is Lisa from Applegate, Dillman, Elder Law, and I am meeting today with Lisa Treadwell because I'm starting to get a lot of calls from clients regarding the real estate market and what do they do if they want to buy a house or sell a house during this shutdown, during these restrictions with COVID-19. So I wanted to ask the expert. So I got Lisa Treadwell on the meeting with me. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that once the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted, the real estate market's going to be a seller's market. So I want to just kind of find out from you today, what does that mean? If I want to be a buyer, if I want to buy a property after this shutdown, what does a seller's market mean to me? What should I be doing right now to get ready?
Sure. Well, first of all, I like that you call it a seller's market or a buyer's market instead of a good market, because a lot of people say a good market, and really that's a relative term. It depends on who you are. If you're a buyer or a seller, depends on, what a good market is to you. So a seller's market is typically marked by less than 6 months supply of inventory on the market. And I just looked at the real estate stats for March 2020, and we are still at less than a month and a half of inventory on the market. So it's a simple supply and demand. I hated econ when I was in high school, but now I'm like all over it. That's what I do every day. It's simple supply and demand. The supply is not there for the amount of buyers that there are. And it's actually been that way for a number of years. We're close to sort of starting to level out. In fact, in some price ranges, it is actually starting to level out, meaning the supply meets the demand. The supply of sellers meets the supply of buyers. So right now, in certain price points, I would say $350 and below. In the Indianapolis area, obviously other states are different. There is less than a month and a half supply of inventory on the market. So
let me interrupt you and ask a question here. Does the severity of whatever type of market it is matter on, like, if there's only a month and a half supply, is that more of a crazy seller's market than if there was a 3-month supply, for instance, or does that matter?
Oh, that's good. And you may hear my dogs in the background.
Okay, we're all
making weird noises right now. Yeah. So yes, in some price points, especially under 200,000, it does get a little crazy, and buyers have to be very strategic. So I say sellers have to be strategic as well, but more and more over the last year and a half, we've seen more of a need for buyers to be really strategic. And there was an interview on the Weather Channel of all places yesterday, I think, that came out. The chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, Dr. Yoon, he was talking about the effects of coronavirus on the market, and it's really good to hear, someone who specializes in economics sort of be on the same page as kind of what I'm thinking, or what we're thinking as realtors, because it's really speculation, or we're looking at trends from the past, or things that we've experienced in our career, and none of us have experienced what
no one has
right now. Yeah, but what we can relate it to is maybe a lull in the market, similar to other lulls, like maybe around the holidays, or believe it or not, there's kind of a lull in this area around spring break time, because so many people are focused on traveling and they're not thinking about buying or selling. So it's sort of like that. Every realtor I talked to was really ramping up their spring market. They penned a lot of deals right before all of this went crazy. And so now we've been actually really busy just trying to keep those deals together and close them over the last 30 days or so. So Go ahead. Sorry.
Good. Let me ask you one thing that you said that really intrigued me. That not that I'm going to be a buyer here in the next 12 months, but you said buyers have to be really strategic in this kind of market. Let's pretend that I'm coming to you and I'm a buyer. My price range is under the 200,000 in this area. What strategies are you telling me to start getting going?
Okay, so the first things first, we're going to have a conversation over the phone to qualify that particular buyer. And for I can't control everything that what other brokers do, but this is our process, the process that I use. We have a conversation over the phone to first qualify that buyer. Then I'm going to connect them with the lender if they plan on getting a mortgage. So I'll ask them, are you paying cash? Or are you getting a mortgage? And most people say, I'm getting a mortgage. So I'll connect them with the lender if they don't have one already. They'll have a conversation with that lender first. And then when the lender gives the sort of the thumbs up, then that buyer and I will meet either at my office or coffee shop, or in this case, what's going on right now on Zoom. you know, so, and then we'll meet and we'll talk about the buying process, what it looks like from start to finish, because even if you bought a house before, the real estate industry changes so quickly, the processes could have changed. So we'll go over the process and then we'll dive into what they're looking for. And then and everyone always says, oh my gosh, we're so picky. We're really picky. And really the people that know specifically what they want and they can express it to their realtor, those are easier buyers than somebody who just says, oh, I'm looking on the north side and the west side, and we like the southwest side too. And they're almost those buyers that are not as specific are a little bit harder because you're looking all over the place. So being really specific about what you want will help. We'll go over that, and then we set them up on what we have with our board of realtors is a portal, a client portal that we can set them up on and send them properties. And now going forward, I think it's going to be kind of the norm to have a lot of video in our listings from the seller's perspective, not just photos, but the virtual tour, the video tours that some listings have. I think that's going to start to become the norm, because I think buyers are going to really look online a lot and decide whether they want to go to a house physically. And it's only going to be a couple of houses before they make a buying decision that they actually go inside of. I think that's going to be the trend. That's what's happening right now. And I don't think that will change too much going forward. I mean, it might loosen up a little and people feel more comfortable once we get the stay-at-home, orders lifted and everything. But so we'll have that conversation. And then it'll be my job when a buyer says, okay, we want to go and look at these properties. And maybe they send me one on, let's say, 123 Main Street. And it is not at all what they told me they were looking for. It's my job to say, well, John and Susie, when we met at the coffee shop just last week, you mentioned that you wanted a house on a basement with a fenced-in yard, and this one you sent me on 123 Main Street is a ranch on a corner with no fence. So do we really need to look at that one? Has something changed with your search criteria, And so really weeding out the process even more than we have in the past is going to be sort of the norm going forward.
So specificity, we'll save them a lot of time. So if they're going to try to get a jump on the property, if they can know what they want, that would be better. What about financially? Is there anything they can be doing right now to make themselves look more attractive from a credit perspective or anything?
Yes. So that conversation I mentioned they would have with the lender. From that conversation, what we will hope happens is the lender will be able to give them what's called a pre-qualification letter or pre-approval letter stating that based on what that buyer has told them, they qualify for a loan. Now, as the process goes along, those buyers will need to be getting the documentation to the lender that they will need for a final approval. The documentation is going to be things like tax returns, paycheck stubs, bank statements. And then as you get farther along, you write an offer and you get toward closing, they'll ask for even more. I tell people it's going to feel like they're asking for a blood sample, but we got to be really thorough. And something that's happening with lenders is one lender told me that what happened in 2008 with lenders tightening their restrictions on who they give money to, that happened over a year's time in 2008. That has happened over 2 weeks' time in 2020 with the coronavirus and COVID-19. So the restrictions have gotten tighter in a really, really short amount of time. And so things like credit score is going to be important because they've increased the minimum credit score. Different lenders and different loan types have different numbers. So I don't want to quote a lender requirement, but really paying attention to your credit score and doing things to increase your credit score are going to be what a buyer can do to position themselves in a way that they'll be ready to buy. Paying down debt, starting with the highest interest rate, debt that you have, not paying anything late, especially not a mortgage or a rent payment. And so really there's all kinds of credit score, apps that you can monitor your credit score. Some credit cards have them and they send you monthly reports. And I know like Capital One is really good. They have like a meter that you can say, if I pay off this and I pay down this, or I pay this much debt off, here's how my credit score will change. So really paying attention to that credit score, getting with a lender that you know and trust, who's going to be able to get it done once we do get a purchase agreement in place. And then the last,
would you say, that just struck me, getting with a lender that you know and trust. A lot of times now you're applying for a mortgage online. Would it be worth it for a buyer to try to get try to get a relationship with somebody?
A lot of things are being done online. I don't think that, you need to be stringent when you're researching lenders, and just like realtors or contractors, some of the best resources are going to be your friends and family in the form of a referral if they had a good experience. The last thing regarding that lender too is the loan type is important. People think that a conventional loan versus an FHA loan is a better loan. And so when a seller, say they do get multiple offers, if they're looking at multiple offers and they see one buyer is using an FHA loan, and then we have this other buyer, maybe they're using a FHA loan and they're putting zero down or just the minimum down, like 3 or 3.5%, versus a conventional loan and they're putting 20% down. A seller and their agent is going to look at that as the conventional buyer with 20% down is a more solid buyer, and they're more likely to go with that in a multiple offer situation because there's more of a guarantee in their minds that that will come to fruition, by way of a closing.
So here you are on the seller side. I want to flip it to the seller side. So now let's say, and I do have several people in this situation. They were caregivers for their parents or their whatever, and then their parent has recently deceased. They were in the process of getting the house ready to sell, get it on the market, and now the market has stopped and they're trying to close the estate, or they're trying to unwind the trust, and they're kind of in a standstill. What can they be doing right now to be ready to get this property sold lickety split as soon as things relax?
They can work on getting the house cleaned out and having it professionally cleaned. So getting it cleaned out as in liquidating all of the items that are in it, whether that means, giving them to friends and family, donation, auction, estate sale, which we help with that. If somebody, needed that help. And then having the house professionally cleaned. In most of those cases, we would list the house in as is condition because we don't want to open up a can of worms on a house that probably has deferred maintenance anyway. We start making repairs or updates, then before you know it, we have $100,000 into the house with no guarantee that you're going to get that back when you sell it. So but having it professionally cleaned, a deep clean, including like the windows, will make a world of difference, even if you are selling it in as is condition. So getting it all cleared out and getting it professionally cleaned and ready to go, so that when people do start coming out of their houses more, and more listings will come on the market in a couple of weeks. It'll be really interesting to see what happens to the real estate market. Buyers there's demand.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's going to just be a mad rush as soon as people can kind of start wrapping their mind around, okay, we're going back to business as usual as we'll ever get there. But so you've given us some really good advice today, Lisa. Thank you. If somebody wants to reach you to ask you more questions or to help through this process, how can they do that?
Well, I have a virtual little background here that has all of my contact information, but my cell phone is the best way to get a hold of me. I can text and take phone calls, and the number is 317-246-9966.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.